Today's September 14th, 2025, and this is a important journal entry if I'm going to be counting, or if I'm going to be initiating my journal entries based on the things that are important, which I am. Like, I'm not making like a journal entry if it's not important. And so this is one of the very, very important ones. I'm looking over here at my TV because you know what's going on right now is that now in American TV there is well, it's legal propaganda. That's what it is, right? And I'm just gonna say, like, this is what this headline says right here. Panicking GOP tries desperately to change identity of killer. And that's because when Charlie Kirk's killer was a young fella, I think he might have been around 22 or something. Like, I think he was already in college. But he was he was come from a Republican Trump supporting family. And Charlie Kirk is just a little bit too extreme, I think, maybe for this fella. And so I don't know what this fella's beef was with Charlie Kirk. Of course, you can see, because of the outrageous propaganda that Charlie Kirk put out there. I mean, he's right on par with the other big bullshitters. You know, some of them have been sued so bad for their lies. Like that one guy who was saying that the Sandy Hook shooting, where all the children got killed in a town called Sandy Hook, maybe like elementary school. Anyway, all these little kids got killed, and this one guy is trying to make people believe that it never happened. Anyway, stuff like that goes on, and Fox News is like the biggest example that I know of putting out bullshit. And for now, even the parties had to be somewhat honest in the past, like the Republicans and the Democrats had to actually speak truth. Well, they don't have to anymore. And the GOP, the Republicans, are the ones that are making up the biggest bunch of bullshit, because they got the biggest bullshitter as president as ever was in the history of America. He built his whole empire, the Trump brand, on bullshit. He is the art of bullshit, like that circus guy P.T. Barnum, said. There's a sucker born every minute. P.T. Barnum. Well, you know what? I mean, I have special fondness in my heart for P.T. Barnum, and plus my buddy Steve Marshall. I mean, he went to P.T. Barnum School, or whatever that's called. I mean, he went to that school. And anyway, there was some music, a record that came out, and I had it ever since I was a kid. And about P.T. Barnum, it was his songs, maybe his background songs to a movie or something. I don't know. But a sucker born every minute. Eyes so wide. Mouth so open. Eyes so wide. I don't know. Looking for a lollipop. Well, people haven't changed. Fox News is putting out a lot of bullshit all the time. Years now. Bullshit, and people believe this bullshit. And the bullshit becomes a reality, and it's bullshit. It ain't got nothing to do with reality. And if you follow the money, well, Jesus Christ, you can see who's supporting the propaganda that they put out. Follow the money. That's all you got to do. But look, this one, I was just watching this here. And I'm just getting to the point of what I really want to talk about. But this right here, look. Okay. 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 The evidence the tabloid media has of the claim that the alleged shooter, is alleged roommate, is allegedly transgender, is a 2-year-old TikTok video where the roommate used a filter to look like a female anime or whatever you call it, anime or whatever you call it, I don't know, character. Trash media is trash. Okay. Anyway, that narrative is straight out of a previous playbook. A playbook that was actually embedded in an actually real true video game. And so that's where the GOP is coming up with this bullshit narrative now that they're trying to present as a reality. When the reality is, you know, a fella's dad said, "Hey, that looks like you on the TV there, jumping off that roof," and kid admits that it was him. And the dad goes and talks to the preacher. And then the preacher, you know, says, "Well, you got to do the honest thing. You can't hide it. You got to face up to what you did." And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, these are like MAGA people, but they got the death penalty in Utah. So it seems to me that the only plea could be this guy's mentally retarded for doing what he did. Like, he's mentally retarded. Because it would seem that nobody would do something so stupid unless they were mentally retarded. Like, you know, they had really a brain, you know, that actually kind of didn't work right. And they couldn't be held to the standards of a civilized society because their brain won't allow them to operate at that level. Okay? And that's how you define mentally retarded. Their brain don't operate on the sufficient level that they can be held accountable for such actions. But, you know, if it actually, you know, was like a person who is a liberal or a Democrat, you know, something like that, then they would want to be, you know, death. And that's what Trump did, even when he was much younger, accused these 5 black people of a crime that they were proven never have done, and he still wanted them to die for it. Because of the color of their skin. Well, I think one of them was Spanish. Kind of black Spanish. And anyway, so, you know, the thing is that I really am leaning in on right now is distraction, because sometimes it seems to me that things in life can be a distraction from your mission, and you got to really concentrate on your mission, you know. And for me, when I listen to the news and stuff sometimes, well, it can be a distraction from me actually doing something constructive, because I get so absorbed in the news and the outrage of misinformation and watching people being led by their snouts with hooks in their snouts like animals or slaves to their destruction. because they're not smart enough to actually utilize the resources of today in the internet, all right, to actually find out what's really going on. And look, you know, everybody always says follow the money. That's what's really going on. Follow the money. But look at where the money in politics. And look at what these big money makers want. I'm talking about, heads of corporations, stuff like that. People with all the wealth. Elon Musk, like I said before, he makes more in 1 year than half of all Americans combined. Okay? I mean, any person that can make that much money, like, I don't know what they're doing with all their money. Well, he gave a lot of money to get Trump supported because, see, people with power want to keep power. Like, I think Napoleon said, people in power will do what they can, but people without power will do what they must. Anyway, I've come to different conclusions, like about my sign in my front yard. I'm going to have to, now I've realized that I can't just put one thing on there because there's too much to be said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sign, but then I'm going to have, like, pieces I can put in my sign, maybe 4x8 sheets of plywood with a sign on it, and then I'll paint it and write something on there, and then put that in there. Like, maybe it'll be like, the bread of life. Like we used to have on our kitchen table when I was growing up. My mom, she had this loaf of bread thing, and it had all these cards inside of it, and you pull one card out and it would say something, and then I think there'd be a scripture verse on one side, and then it would say something on the other side. Well, I ain't trying to wax all religious or anything like that, but I was thinking about doing that, and, saying stuff like this right here, putting on one of my signs, just put it up there for a few days or something. Panic in GOP tries desperately to change identity of killer. And the thing that is even possible, that they can do that on TV. Then they can make people believe that, no, this guy wasn't, a Republican. He was a mad transgender, a Democrat. That's why we need to extinguish these things like cockroaches and spiders and other nuisance and pestilence to our society. Okay, that's what they want to try to make, a certain group out to be. But really, the fact is, it wasn't even that group at all. And if you actually put things in a pie chart and you look at Republican places where are responsible for assassinations and all that kind of stuff, there's always the Republicans. Very, very small section for the Democrats, and that's a fact. And so, see, there's certain facts that people, if they're going to pull their head out of their ass properly and actually see the light of day and smell the coffee, well, and actually, do something constructive, well then, they're not going to be listening to bullshit. Because I think I lost track of what I was actually saying. But that is actually where I'm landing right now. I'll definitely have to say something about Fox News, that's for damn sure. Okay, and then, about the bullshit and everything. Okay, that's what this lady, Ari Drennan, says. The evidence, the quote-unquote evidence, the tabloid media has of the claim that the alleged shooter's alleged roommate is allegedly transgender is a 2-year-old TikTok video where the roommate uses a filter to look like a female anime character. Trash media is trash. Alright, if I'm talking to you, my grandchildren, which is, I hope I am, and if I'm not, if I'm just talking to myself, well, so be it. It's a good reminder. It's a good reminder, One thing, definitely do not be distracted by bullshit, okay? Because that is what the adversarial powers want, for you to be distracted by bullshit. And number two, don't be distracted from your mission, And so, see, that's what I am really thinking about right now today. I gotta not really be distracted from my mission. So I'm just gonna call this one mission distraction, because that is the thing to avoid. And marking this day when it comes to a realization that I'm gonna have to make a sign that I can swap out the messages. And one of them, I might like, if I could do it right today, I would write up there, panic and GOP tries desperately to change the identity of the killer, of Kirk's killer. All right, that's it.